Majid, I went to the market and look what I got. A Nasreddin Hoja figure. Isn't it cute?
That's great.
I love Nasreddin Hoja stories.
I know some stories. Do you know?
Do you? All right.
Do you mind if I share some?
No, go ahead.
One of them, as I remember, someone comes and knock on the door of the Hoja. Hoja opens the door. And you know how much he cares about his donkey. But the man asks about the donkey. And he says, where is your donkey? We need the donkey, have the donkey. And the man says, Hoja, donkey not at home. The man surprised and says, how come? Where the donkey will go? At that moment, the donkey makes noise from the backyard. At that time, the man looks at the face of the Hoja and says, Hoja, I can hear the donkey. Why you lying to us? Hoja gets very mad and he says, who do you believe, me or the donkey?
All right, that's a good one.
You tell me one.
Let me tell you one of my very favorites. All right, so Hoja was in the habit of borrowing things a lot from the other people in the village. And he had a bit of a reputation. But he went to his neighbor and he said to his neighbor, I need to borrow your cauldron. And the neighbor says, well, I'm not sure, cauldrons are expensive. And Hoja says, no, I really need it. We want to make a big pot of ashura for Ramadan. And he said, okay, you can borrow it. So he takes the cauldron, he goes home, and he doesn't return it. So weeks pass, and the man goes back to Hoja's house, and he says, Hoja, I need my cauldron back. And Hoja says, okay, all right, I'll give you your cauldron back. And he goes inside, he gets it, he brings it, and he gives it to him. And inside is another little cauldron. And he says, what's this inside? And he said, oh, I totally forgot to tell you. While the cauldron was staying with us, it gave birth. And the man said, whoa, that's terrific. That's wonderful news, Hoja. Thank you so much. And he takes his cauldron and his new cauldron and he goes home. Well, a couple of weeks later, Hoja comes back and says, that ashura pudding was so good, I want to make another pot. Could I borrow your cauldron again? And of course, this time he said, oh, Hoja, please take it. So he takes the pot and goes home. Does he return it? No, he does not return it. So the man goes to Hoja's house and he says, Hoja. And of course, he's very excited. Maybe he'll have a new pot. And he says, I need my cauldron back. And so Hoja says, oh, I'm so sorry to tell you this. I'm so sad. Your cauldron has died. And he says, what are you talking about? A cauldron can't die. And he says, well, you were willing to believe it gave birth.
That's amazing. Let me share another one with you.
All right.
So the Hoja was invited to one of the fast break meal by one of the wealthy men. So he dressed casually and he went to the house, he knocks the door and he goes inside. He was not that much welcome. They showed him a corner, he sat over there. They brought some food in front of him, but he looks at the other people more richly dressed. They are receiving so much more meal. He wasn't very happy with that. And at that moment he decided he should better go home, change, put the nice dress and come back. Actually, that's what happened. He went, put his nice fur, and he walks back. As he walks back, people suddenly welcomes him differently, totally different. They show him the best corner, and they bring the best food in front of him. And the Hoja sits down, look at the food for a while, and he looks at his fur, looks at the food, and he holds the fur, dip it in the food, and he says, this is for your honor.
So the food's going to the fur, not to the man.
Because they never brought that food for him. It was for the fur, what he dressed.
There you go. Well, let me tell you my favorite one. And this is, the reason I love this story so much is that it really shows that Hoja stories are not just funny stories about a silly man, but they're really about kind of Sufi teaching tales. Every story has some kernel of wisdom that you should really learn from. He's not a fool. We often call him a wise fool, but he's really, the stories are Sufi teaching tales. So this is my favorite one, and that's why I bought this figure with the yogurt. So Hoja goes to the lake, and he sits down by the big lake, and he takes out his pot of yogurt, and he dips his spoon in it, and then he puts it in the lake, and he stirs it around. And then he takes some more out, and he puts it in the lake, and he stirs it around. Someone passing says, Hoja, what are you doing? Why are you putting your yogurt in the lake? And he says, well, I want the whole lake to turn to yogurt. Wouldn't that be delicious? And the man says, well, yes, Hoja, but you know that's not going to happen. And he says, oh, I know it's not going to happen, but wouldn't it be great if it did?
That's the Hoja. That's the Hoja. Love the Hoja. That's great.